I finished up the manga Me and the Devil Blues and started up the manga Prison School, both written by Akira Hiramoto. And these manga couldn't be more different. So Me and the Devil Blues is the story of a African-American blues musician set in the 1920s, and it has this whole historical drama slash horror and metaphysical element happening with it that's just so unique and different. It's quickly become one of my favorite manga, period. The atmosphere that Hiramoto is able to create in the story, coupled with like the mysteries going on, the art style, and there's just, it's so like dense and thick with how he's able to create sort of this oppressive, dark mood. There's truly not a lot that I've read that's like it at all. And then you go over to Prison School, man, which is sincerely one of the most hilarious manga that I've ever read. It's gotten me to actually crack up while I've read it, like not unironically, like not because it's cliche or stupid, but because there were things that happened that really cracked me up. And so I've just been sitting here thinking, how can one person be so talented and be able to cross genres so effectively? And this got me thinking about people like Jordan Peele as well, right? The comedian from Key and Peele, who went on to create some of the greatest horror movies of the past decade, including Get Out, Us. And a lot of people don't associate comedians with being able to do serious stuff, right? But I don't think this is the case. I actually think that the same thing that makes somebody a powerful or efficient comedian is exactly the skills that it would take for them to be great at drama and especially horror. I think of individuals like Adam Sandler, who has done roles in stuff like Uncut Gems, a movie that I really like. And often these people that play in these movies just get typecasted in these roles as being a fundamentally unserious person. And I think that that's such a waste, because the skill I think that both a horror writer and a good comedian has to have is timing and the subversion of expectations. I think that both of these things are critical in both comedy and horror, and those that are able to do this are able to cross the line effectively between both genres. So let's think about what it takes for a horror movie to be good, right? A horror movie, in order to give the effect of suspense and terror and set up an oppressive atmosphere, one has to have an element of the unexpected, right? If you know everything that's coming in a horror movie, it fundamentally becomes less scary because you already know what to expect. The worst thing that can happen in a horror movie is for it to give in to cliches, because you've already seen those a million times before, and if you know what happens, the suspense is gone. A good horror writer is able to subvert your expectations. You think one thing is going to happen, and then something else pops up when you weren't expecting it, and that's what gives us that element of terror, right? Timing. This is where the timing piece comes in as well. A good horror writer knows when it's time to reel back and when it's time to surprise the audience. And this is a really delicate balance, because if it's one surprise after another and you have constant jump scares, it loses that effect. It's no longer a jump scare. It's no longer effective because now you come to expect it. But if you're able to litter these little pieces throughout the movie at the correct times and in the correct way, you have the recipe for a fantastic horror film. And now think about this in relation to comedy. It's really the exact same thing, right? In order for a comedy to get you to laugh and have a genuine and sincere humorous effect on you, it has to be jokes or punchlines that you don't see coming. A good comedy is able to make you laugh because the situation that is set up doesn't give in to cliches, and they're able to subvert what you think is coming. And an example of this in Prison School I'll give you, right, is there's a point where you have this the small group group of boys, right, our protagonists in the story, and they decide that they're going to go peep into like the girls' like spa or shower area. If you're someone that has any exposure to manga or anime, you have seen this set up 8 million times. You know that something is gonna go wrong, the boys are gonna get called perverts, and like we've seen that same song and dance all before, right? So as expected, the main character decides that, you know what, I'm gonna go do this. He jumps down, attempts to get the pictures of the naked girls, but he ends up falling down and ends up directly in the shower with the girl who's his crush. And you're like, all right, here we go. He's gonna get slapped, the boys are gonna get lynched, and we're going to get our old comedy cliche that's been done in anime and manga 8 million times. This is the expectation. But what ends up happening, and is an example of what sets Prison School apart from so many other stories, is that the girl that the main character is into just happens to be extremely farsighted. So she can't even tell who she's looking at when he's directly in front of her because it's a blurry mess. So she ends up holding the main character's hand, thinking that it's one of her girlfriends, and then they go into the shower together, and then it gets even worse from there, right? So this is the thing that I'm talking about with the subversion of expectations, right? You go in expecting the one cliche to happen that's happened in so many other stories, but Akira Hiramoto is able to take the scenario and turn it into a completely different direction, and I think this is what makes him special, because from there, even more hijinks ensue, right? You think the moment that he steps in the shower, he's gonna get egged and tomatoed and they're gonna beat the hell out of him in there, but the man ends up making it through the entire shower scene. The other guys get caught that didn't go into the shower, and then he ends up getting caught for a different reason. So this is what I mean, right? That subversion of expectations. Akira Hiramoto does it in Prison School, and he also does this exact same thing in Me and the Devil Blues, right? One of the main characters ends up getting into this like psychological battle, basically, right? Where he's being grilled by these people at a bar that he goes into for being suspicious and new to town. He has his guitar in his car, and they're questioning him about this because it's actually the belonging of one of the other main characters who has recently been locked up. And if they find out that this character is associated with the main character, there's gonna be some big problems. So the conversation goes, and you're 100% sure that this character is gonna get caught because there's a scene before that sets up both individuals seeing this guitar that's set in their car, but then a conversation happens, they go outside to look, and the guitar's nowhere to be found. And both the character and the reader are sitting there like, what the hell is going on? They saw it earlier and they know that it was there. And this is a perfect example of how Hiramoto is able to take a situation, set up expectations, and then just completely pull the rug from under you. And this is what I think makes for a talented writer or author, right? There's somebody that doesn't give into genre cliches. They're able to think outside of the box, and they're able to craft stories and put their characters in unique situations that set them apart from all of the other fare that's out there and create something that you've never seen before. And doing this is critical both in horror and comedy. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, man. Tell me your thoughts. Do you guys agree that there's a lot of similarities between horror and comedy? Do you see things a bit different? And what are some of your favorite horror and comedy, manga, anime, or media? I'd love to hear about it, man. So I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. I appreciate you guys listening to my thoughts, and I'll talk to you in the next video.